already published 10 books. These are most of them, not all of them. So what is even the point of joining AuthorTube now? Well, first of all, I got a little sick of all the social media apps and essentially ghosted all of them and stopped promoting my books there. So that's the first thing. And second of all, more importantly, I still have goals. And this seems like the great place to find accountability and to document the progress that I make towards them. So let's see how quickly I can introduce myself and these books in this video. I'm going to take you through the quick version of my backstory and how I got to where I am, and especially to the point where these bad boys are my constant companions. So my name is KC. I am from Michigan in the US. That is where I grew up, lived my whole life. I have always been bookish, always been an introvert, and it feels significant somehow to mention that I studied Spanish in university. After fumbling around a bit trying to figure out what to do with that degree in 2007 when I graduated, which admittedly was probably not a great time to be trying to find a job, I ended up moving to Ireland for a year. So that was my first experience with living and working abroad. That becomes important with my books because you'll notice a theme here where they're all love stories that are set internationally or feature international/intercultural couples. I moved to Ireland because, like many Americans, I thought that I was Irish. My last name before I got married was McCormick, and I wanted to go to the motherland. So cue me getting on a plane and moving to a small town, a small city in the center of Ireland, and living there for about a year. During that time, I traveled all over the country, and really, I feel like I unlocked something inside myself. I don't know if we want to give credit to astrology and say, oh, it's because you're a Sagittarius and you're just destined to do lots of traveling, or if it was just the experience of meeting people from different countries, but it definitely opened up something for me. So after that year in Ireland, I went back to the States to get certified to teach English as a foreign language, and then I moved to Germany where I did just that. So in Germany, I taught English to kindergartners and to adults in a business English course, and had my first exposure to a language that I really didn't know other than Spanish, and tried to see what it was like to learn some German just by immersion, which was certainly challenging, but Dresden was such a beautiful city. I absolutely loved living there, could have seen myself staying longer, but then the opportunity came up to have more stable work because working freelance is a bit challenging. So I ended up moving to South Korea where I taught English to elementary and middle schoolers, and at the same time worked on my master's degree long distance. So this is important because that master's degree made it possible for me to get a job teaching at a university in Turkey, in Antalya, Turkey. And that's where everything changed. So Antalya was the first place that I stayed longer than a year. I ended up staying 3 years. That is at least in part because I met my now husband during that time. So we were both English teachers. We started work at the same time. We were friends for a year. We started dating, you know, how things tend to unfold. So at the end of those 3 years, we decided it was time to, well, do two big things: to get married and to move to the US, and, you know, deciding which order to do those things in. So we ended up going through the K1/fiance visa process. If you're a fan of 90 Day Fiance, you know some version of what that looks like. But we got some real firsthand experience with the whole immigration process, you know, from fiance visa all the way to citizenship. That was actually what inspired me to write my first book, which I don't even have here to show you because I only have the fiction here. And the first two books that I published were nonfiction/self-help. So the very first one was a self-help guide to people in intercultural relationships. The second one was a guide to planning a wedding on a fiance visa, on a K1 visa, because there is a time limit in which you have to get married. So these were things that I was thinking about a lot at the time, and also working with people. At the time, I was doing some intercultural relationship coaching. That was a part of my journey, as was leading meditation and emotional freedom techniques sessions on Insight Timer app. So this is just giving you a little picture of like all the many things that were going on in my world in the last 10 years, let's say. So yes, lots of relationship stuff, lots of personal growth stuff, and lots of stepping into business and figuring out how to work for myself kind of stuff too. Then I read something, now this is not one of my own books that I'm reaching for. I read a book you might be familiar with, The Artist's Way. I am definitely going to do a video talking about my experience working through this book. This changed things for me, and by the time I worked my whole way through that book, I got serious about writing my first novel, which would be this bad boy right here, Pride, Prejudice, and Turkish Delight. So that was the point that we found ourselves at as we were closing out our time in the US. So my husband and I were in the US for about 5 years, and then we decided it was time to move back to Turkey. Now, we spent some of that time living in the village where his family is from. There was a season there where we were living in a one-room house and just doing a lot of writing. So during that time, I wrote these 2 books, just over quite a short period, because it was like, well, there's not a whole lot to do in the evenings. It's just the 2 of us. At some point there was a cat. Our first cat moved in with us, but every night was spent just working on books, and those 2 were written there. And then we decided to move to the coast. That was where we met. We met on the Mediterranean coast, but now we have moved to the Aegean coast, and that's where we still live. It's been almost 3 years now since we moved back. So life here on the coast is quite chill. It feels very much like we're living like a retiree lifestyle. Life is just, for me, it's my regular job, it's books, and it's cats. We now have 4 cats living in the house with us, and that is one of my favorite things about living in Turkey. I love going for walks around the neighborhood and appreciating the other cats that don't live with me, because we are maxed out. We can only have these 4. I like to appreciate all the other cats. I like to appreciate all the beautiful bougainvillea. And of course, I never, ever, ever get enough of the sea. I just love being near a beautiful, large body of water. So the reason that I'm here now is, despite the fact that, I have a stack of books. I'm quite pleased with this stack. I'm quite proud of them. They are my pride and joy in many ways. But I also have the goal to keep writing, to write a lot more. I have a post-it note, I'm going to show it to you right here, that is reminding me that by November 27th of 2025, which may or may not be my 40th birthday, I'd like to have a stack of 20 books. Now, luckily, this stack that I have here isn't complete. So there are 10 books already that are published, but I'm hoping to add another 10 to that stack in a year and 2 months from now. So that's what I'm aiming to document here. That's one of probably many things that I will document here. I'd like to do vlogs. I'd like to share my experience so far, things that have gone well, things that I would recommend doing differently. I could see getting into live streams. I love writing in community, and I know that it can be quite a solitary activity. So I found when I even just record myself, for B-roll, when I record myself writing, I'm so much more focused than if I'm just doing it on my own. I think that's human nature. It's a very probably relatable thing to anyone who's watching this video. So yeah, that's it. I'm not sure what else is going to happen along the way. There's possibilities, we could move, we could not move. We definitely won't adopt any more cats because 4 is already the perfect number. But yeah, that's it. That's me. I would love to get to know you. If you've watched through here to the end, please say hi in the comments. Let me know who you are, where you are, what you're writing. I should mention, since I didn't already, that these books that I write, they are all romantic comedies or women's fiction. I would say the line can be a bit blurry there. This one, Intoxicated by You, is definitely more women's fiction. Still important to me, they all have happy endings. That's always going to be a priority. So that's what I write, contemporary romantic comedy / women's fiction. So what about you? Let me know who you are, and I will be back again for the next video. I'm going to take you through the quick and dirty, not that dirty.